Hi, welcome back to Flint's Collectibles. Today we are going to do a review on Ice Cream Man Sunday Edition Volume 1. Let's go ahead and dig in. Alright, so here's Ice Cream Man Sunday Edition Volume 1. Here's the front of the book. Nice embossed lettering, nice embossed Ice Cream Man right here. Him holding the spider. And here's the spine. Nice good looking spine. Here's the back of the book. This is kind of embossed a little bit too, with a cover price of $44.99. So let's go ahead and dig in. So here's the inside of the book with all the little popsicles and ice cream stuff. Here's the first page, written by W. Maxwell Prince, illustrated by Martin Morezzo. Hopefully I said that right. Colored by Chris O'Tarlin. Lettered by Good Old Neon. And designed by Echo Studio. Here's all the stories that it has inside of it. And we go ahead and start with chapter 1, the first issue. So this is the first issue of Ice Cream Man. So the story here follows several different little stories that all have their own tie-in. So right here we meet the Ice Cream Man, and he's handing out ice cream to kids. And this kid right here says he'll take 2 scoops. So you go ahead and give him 2 scoops. He's walking home, eating ice cream, and it's got different little things talking about spiders and stuff like that. And then we find out that he gets home and he's got a pet spider, and then he's like, my parents haven't talked very much lately, and it's because there they are, they're not alive no more. So right here is on the other side of town at the police station. They're trying to figure out what's going on with these people that are saying they've been attacked by a werewolf. And here's an older lady talking about how she's encountered something, and they're all kind of like, yeah, okay, we need to figure out what's going on with these missing people. And there's that kid right there, and there's his 2 parents that they don't realize aren't alive no more. So he goes along, he's walking around the woods, and there's the Ice Cream Man, and then he's like confused at what's going on with Ice Cream Man, but then he's like, hey, look, I can give you more ice cream. And then he's like, oh, okay. Then here's these 2 police officers going through town trying to figure out what's going on. And then they come across this house where that kid lives, and the 2 people have been dead, and they're like, they've been dead for a while. And then this guy gets bit by that spider that he had, and he starts foaming at the mouth, and the kid's like, oh man, that's what happened to my parents. And then they're chasing the kid in the woods, and then here's the Ice Cream Man turned into a werewolf. So they're trying to fight, and she ends up getting thrown to the ground, and the spider's just chilling on his back, and he bites the werewolf. And then now you're seeing what's happening with the kid, since his parents aren't around, and they're like, he's probably gonna go to child services. And there's the spider again, walking up the Ice Cream Man's leg. So we're kind of like, what's going on here with the Ice Cream Man and the spider? So here goes into another story of a couple who, this is the present day, talking about how they have like drug problems, and they used to be so happy together, and it's going through their lives of how they started and how they were living together, and then they started doing drugs, and then drugs led to trying to get more drugs, to leading into selling things, and how far apart they've gotten because of all the doing drugs. And then a few miles away, here's a different story about another couple and them living together, and they're older, and talking about different things that they're dealing with just regular life stuff. And then here's this girl again, and she's trying to find something to steal to get money for drugs, and here comes Ice Cream Man. And then she takes his ice cream truck and drives around town all crazy. And then here's this couple again, and they're driving, and then bam, black screen, and she just ran into their car and killed one of them, as one to kill the other one to get more of what she wants. And it's just crazy. And then she gets home, and now the Ice Cream Man's in her living room with her boyfriend on the ground and saying, hey, you got two options. Here's something you can take, but there's only enough for one of you. So she's making the decision to say, hey, I'll just save one of us. And she ends up saving him. And then she end up dying from what she's dealing with. And then he's going through like rehab and detoxing, and he's just living his life, but she sacrificed his for him. So that's the end of chapter 2. So on to chapter 3. Now we go into a story about a guy who was like a rock star or something. So they're showing his life in the past and where he used to be and now where he is now, and how he's just not doing any more music. He's just kind of just living life at this point. And then he runs into the Ice Cream Man, who's telling him that you can do anything, you just gotta put your mind to it, kind of things. So he offers him a scoop of ice cream, and then he takes the scoop and he's eating it, and then he's coming back to his house where he lives, and he's going downstairs and opens the door, and then bam, now he's into this crazy sci-fi trip going on, and there's a battle scene with them, and even the yellow submarine like in the Beatles. So there's a big old fight scene going on, and then he meets up with all these other people, and it's like Captain Jack, Eleanor Rigby, Ziggy, Rocky Raccoon, Major Tom, and they're all saying that they have this guitar he can play. And so here's the Hendrix Strata Blaster. So he picks up the guitar, he goes out with them to fight this fight against all these things, and he starts playing, and then he just plays the guitar, and then all this crazy stuff's going on, and here's him rocking out on this crazy looking guitar, and there's like another Ice Cream Man looking guy. And then he realizes he's actually been at the diner the whole time, and that was all just some crazy dream or trip, who knows. And then it just says, don't you. And then until next time. Then here's chapter 4, and then this is the story of a couple who, it shows him getting ready to go to a event. We find out that the event is a funeral, and it's for one of his friends. And he meets this guy and they used to know, and then they start hanging out and drinking and talking about life and all the good times back in the day, and they just keep talking about stuff. And then it goes into them driving together, and then they're driving, and it just says, one last time, am I in hell? And now a brief and unpleasant interlude. So then it goes into an interlude of where their friend is at, and it shows all these crazy images, like him being eaten by little spiders, to being tickled by skeletons, to his brain being worked on by dog doctors, to a bunch of trumpet players, to whatever that is, to him in prison. And it's just going through his different story, where he is. And then he says, I want to hug my son one more time, because it being his son. and so they get him out of the casket so he can hug him one last time. And then we go to a part with the ice cream man, and he meets this guy. His name's Caleb, and he knows who he is, but we don't know who the guy is. And now we're gonna go into chapter 5. This one is super crazy. It's like a guy about to jump off a building, and then him jumping off the building, and all these thoughts going through his head about his life and about what's going on while he's going down the building. And it goes by one floor where vultures are eating people's eyes and heads and all kind of crazy stuff. And then a girl escaping, and then this guy in the stairway, and then her going down the stairs, and this guy still falling and just going through different life things that were in his head before he jumped. And now this girl is meeting up with this guy right here, and they're talking, and then he pulls out a doesn't look so smart now, and then he's got this guy's head in his hand, and she's running, freaking out. This guy's just falling, and there's just a random room with monkeys in it. And it's just this guy's life dilemmas while he's falling. And this girl trying to get to out of this crazy building. And then she comes across a vulture, and then this guy shoots, and he looks like the guy from earlier. This name's Caleb. And this guy's still falling. And then bam, dead. And then she makes it out too. And then she meets Caleb, and now he was going off to do who knows what in chapter 6 now. This one was very interesting. It's a chapter about a guy who wants 3 scoops of ice cream, so he takes the 3 scoops and he eats them. And as he's eating them, we're getting 3 different parallel lives of what he could have done. So like this is him walking down the street one way, walking left, walking right. And this is all the different turns of life that he could have lived. And this is one where he bumps into a girl, and then he really likes her. Or there's one where he finds a dog, and he's really likes the dog. And then there's one where there's bugs in his ice cream, and he thinks it's clearly gross. And here's him and the girl going out on dates, and him and the dog living life. And then this bottom one's just like crazy weird. And then he like gets eggs out of the thing, and then it cracks open, and it ends up being a live chicken. And then this is them living life and getting married. And then there's the dog one again, the dog being happy together, him and her being happy together, they're having a son. And then him and the dog. And then this is the animal shelter one for the chicken that he got. And then there he goes to the ATM, and it says there's something awful inside you. Wow. So here's just him and the girl living together, and then something's going on with their baby. And then here's him and the dog, and he finds out that this dog was lost. And then this one is him walking, and then he gets taken by somebody in a van. This is him and her at the hospital going through, and they find out that they have some really bad news. And then this is him and the dog, and then he's like, lost dogs, this is somebody's dog, I'm gonna take this dog with me. And then I don't even know what this is. It's like a bird guy face who's got him captured. And then here's him and her, and how she's so distraught because they lost their baby, and she just don't know what to do with herself. And then this is him driving out to live in the woods to live with the dog that he just found. And then there's this bird person one again, and he stabs him in the leg, and he's torturing him. And then this is her just no longer who she used to be, kinda. And then this is him and the dog living in the woods, and this is that guy just leaving him. And then it says months, years, and days. So let's find out what happens next. So this is him trying to cheer her up and bring flowers, but he finds out that she's just drinking because she's sad because they lost their son. And this is him older with a dog that he just loved and how happy they were, and he didn't want to give that up because it was somebody else's dog. And then this bottom one is him getting stabbed in the leg, and then that chicken coming out again with that guy. And then this is her just laying there so sad, and then him just sad because he lost his son, and then the story of him and the dog, how they lived happy together out there in the cabin, and then the ice cream man again, and the chicken, and it's like saying, it says one way or another. It's like saying one way or another he's not happy, or I guess like maybe he's alone one way or another. Just a really interesting way to write a story. And then chapter 7, and this one's about a girl who has had a best friend, says they were the bestest friends, and it's her on a swing with the ice cream cone. And then it's her being out there lonely, and her parents worried about her, and her dad saying she's got schizophrenia, it's not grieving, and she's just out there just by herself without her friend. And then it says her, in her mind, she thinks her friend's alive, but the therapist says, like, you realize that your friend's not there, and she's like, no, she is there. And this is her just sitting there, and how her parents are just arguing about what to do about her and what to say to her. And this is her leaving her room one night, going out in the woods, what she thinks is her friend, and then there's a random thing of sprinkles, this little just trail of sprinkles. And then this is her mom saying it's breakfast time, and then she's like, wait a second, where'd she go? And then she goes out in the woods, and there's an ice cream truck. And she goes into this place where there's just creepy stuff. There's this guy laying there saying, help me. And the ice cream man's right behind her, and he says, I can go on and on. And he's just talking about on and on about stuff, I guess, killing people, keeping them hostage. And this is her mom calling the police and saying, hey, like, I don't know where my daughter is, and they're out, like, just worried about her, worried she can get home okay. Now he's got her tied up, but he doesn't look normal. He's got like vampire kind of looking teeth, and then claw fingers, and he looks real creepy, and he's just don't know what's going on. And she's in there, and then there's Caleb, and Caleb comes to rescue her and says, I'll take care of you. And then she ends up leaving and escapes, and then gets back to her family. And then it just says Kayla died on June 26th. And she realizes that her friend is no longer alive, and she's finally accepted that fact, and now she's going through life like she should have originally, knowing that her friend passed and acting like she's still alive. And then it ends with, they were the bestest friends forever. So now on to chapter 8. Chapter 8 goes through a storyline. It kind of has like a little pulse thing going on, like you see in like hospitals, and then it's going through with these two people in like an ambulance and different things they're encountering while they're driving, and it's just how they're doing pills and they're taking pills and how they shouldn't take them, and they're not doing the right things, they're not helping people, they're just driving around, and it's just like this one, like that kid was trying to stop them, and it ends up being a clown that got shot in the head. And then they're going through what they should do with the clown in the body, so they all pick him up and then throw him off a bridge, which is crazy, and then drives by the ambulance. They just keep going on about their problems and how they need to quit doing pills and they need to focus on different things. And then they're just driving, and then there's a little bunny, and then she tries to swerve, and ends up running the bunny right over. And then there's a house on fire that they're not helping, and there's what's going on inside the house. And the world around them pretty much is just going crazy while they're just driving around, and then they're doing more pills, and he says, I don't feel anything, give it a few, you're doing it wrong. And then she don't have a face now for some reason. And then there's these guys at the bar, and the one guy stabs the other guy in the hand. So it's just like this crazy trip kind of thing going on from doing all the pills, I guess. And then here's this person trying to hold up this place for hostage, and he's like, I'm just an old man, there ain't no point in hurting me. What are you talking about? Hurt you? And then haha, oh no, not you. And then bam, he blows his head right off. And then there's them getting back the ambulance, and then there's this ice cream man, we're assuming, guy, and there's people with pitchforks. And it's just a crazy story of them going through life and talking about different things. And then to come to find out, they forgot there was a guy in the ambulance, and it was actually Caleb who got stabbed, I guess, in the fight from the last issue. And they're like, oh shoot, we forgot about that guy in the back. Because all the time we were talking about popping pills and doing things. So chapter 9. Then chapter 9 starts out with this like valley looking stuff and the spider. But it's Caleb, and it's like his story about him. And this spider is, obviously you see the horse, and then you see how big the spider is. The spider is the same size as the horse, so it's not your normal spider by any means. And then there's him trying to get the spider, and he has his dog bite the spider. And then you see Caleb closer, and you're like, he's got like pointed ears and like black eyes with no like color. And then he takes the eyeball out of the spider and gives it to his dog, and his dog eats it. And he's going back home, and then you find out that this guy right here is his dad, and that this is kind of like his like backstory of who he is and where he came from. And then here comes you find out that it's his brother, and then his dad's like, hey, I need to tell you something, this place is doomed that we live, we need to go somewhere else, and here's the instructions on how to get there and what to do. And so they're talking about that. Then he just goes on to the story of him going out with his dog, and how he's just living out there just like a cowboy. And then his dog hears a little tune, and it's got the little ice cream man colors. And then he's like, wait a second, where's my dog? And then here comes his brother wearing the dog because his dad supposedly told him to do it. And then he's like, all right, I'm getting you back. So then here's him trying to get him. And then him encountering another big spider. And then he finds out that the spider or something got his dad. And then here's him burying his dad and saying, all right, let's go on to the next road. And then we're on to chapter 10. Chapter 10, I couldn't read the first part because it's in like Spanish. So it's just like a story of two people that are in love, from what I can tell from the pictures. And it keeps going, and it's just, I don't know, it's hard to explain because I don't know what to say. But it's all in Spanish until you get to here where she says, speak to me in English. And he's like, okay, I'll speak to you in English. And then they start talking, you start getting an idea on these two people that are falling in love with each other and how happy they are. But yet this one guy wants to have control is what I'm gathering. But this guy wants to be with her. And so he's gonna do what he has to do to get her away from this other guy. And so this is her mom like telling him like, good life. You can do nothing for my niece's life, but Hassan, it's end. And so there's him holding her with the knife on her throat. Then he's like, I'll shoot you, kind of thing. And then bam, he shoots him right in the shoulder, and then she kicks him, and then he's got like the spider, or like the ice cream man teeth. So you're like, so who is this guy? And then it's him, and he ends up stabbing who she's in love with, and then he's laying on the ground. And then it's her coming across somebody that I'm assuming is Caleb, from what I can tell. And then that's the end of that one. And then chapter 11. Now this one was crazy. It's like a guy is like caught in like a reality TV show, I guess you could say. And it's different like shows. Like this one's supposed to be, I think, like The Bachelor, and how he's up against these people with no faces, and he's like, wait a second, I don't want to be a part of this. So then he escapes that one to then go into a family autopsy, to where you find out who you're going to find out how they died. Dog doctors again. And it's his uncle Bob, and he's like, wait a second, we want you to find out what happened to Bob. And then it's Bob showing a picture of him with his family, and then he's like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And then it's one like, it's called Chopped, and it's different things they have to cook with. And this guy's got like a foot, this dog guy's got a foot, and then he's got his Uncle Bob's teeth, and then this zombie looking thing's got farmer's market kale. And they're supposed to like cook with what they're given, and he's over here like, I don't want to be a part of this, this is really weird. And then he escapes, and then it goes into America's Got Intestines, and there's a game show host like America's Got Talent, and then he's like, wait a second, intestines. And then he realizes they're all laying on a place, and then he's like, what? And then he gets dropped out of the floor to the bottom, to where he falls into like a jail cell underneath the stage. And then there's this guy that he meets who has his arm missing, and then it goes into another show, Wealthy Family of Zombies, and it's all these people who are wealthy that are zombies, and how they're hungry and they want food, so they come in, and he's like, wait a second, I don't want them eating me. And then he's laying on the table, and they start eating him, and then they're showing his family how they're missing him and his uncle, and they're not there. And then it's actually like a TV show being recorded, but it's him on the TV, in the TV show. So, and then the next one shows out, find out next week on Missing Parsons, and that's his uncle, and that's him. So no idea what was going on there, very wild. So now we go to chapter 12. Chapter 12 is like a guy who's in outer space, and he's coming across different things and different creatures and different things that have happened in life, and how there's these spiders in outer space, and they're always trying to get you. And then him going around and like talking about different things that have happened in the world that have taken away people, and how he misses his family. And then he hears a voice on his ship, and it ends up being this spider. And then the ship starts to crash, and then he crashes on the moon. And from the moon, then he goes on to trying to figure out what's going on the planet. So then he's going on the planet, he's going around, and then he has a picture of his family who he misses. And then there comes this other guy in an astronaut suit, but it's like black. So it's them encountering each other and fighting, and then he finds this cave, and then this cavern he finds like little inscriptions, and then he finds this creepy looking guy, and then they start talking, and then he's like, wait a second, you're probably getting the distress signal from one of these guys that are hanging on my wall. And then there's the ice cream man tune again. So is this Caleb's brother who's a part of this, who's inhabited this moon? Then they start talking and fighting, and then begins carousel, disable connective tissue. So he starts running, trying to escape, and then there's Ice Cream Man again. So then you're like, what? And then he's like, I bet we'll find a new universe in no time. Fast can be. Lickety split. And then there he goes, that little Ice Cream Man tune. And then who's the guy in the suit? And I think it's Caleb. Because he says, on to the next one, Rick. So there you go. That's all the stories that are collected in this one. And then these are some of the alternate cover art. Like this one's supposed to be like a Pink Floyd variant to just other covers. I think the covers are really awesome. I love the artwork. Just really trippy and wild looking. Like this one with the ice cream cone at the top of the bar. They always try to incorporate some kind of Ice Cream Man thing in their variants. But it's just different covers from all the different issues. And then here's some artwork from the artist. And there is in here somewhere, find it. So this is an interpretation, the English script for that issue that was in Spanish partially. So this is all the stuff interpreted into English so you can read it. So that's pretty cool that they add that in there so that you know what they actually said, since I don't speak Spanish. And there's a black and white cover. And then here's some doodles for this book and different issues and stuff. Pretty cool. And there's the first issue of Ice Cream Man. And there's it in black and white. And then here's different patterns that were used in the book. And then that's it. Well, there it is, Ice Cream Man Sunday Edition Volume 1. So my takeaway from it is I really enjoyed it. I love the storyline and how just crazy and bizarre it was, and how even after reading Volume 1, you still don't know a lot, but you do know a little bit, and cannot wait to get Volume 2 to do a review on it and to also read it. I think Ice Cream Man would make an amazing TV show of some kind. So that's my takeaway from it. I give it 2 thumbs up. And until next time, peace.